Okay, this is Thursday. I'm pretty sure it's 426. Homework. We're doing it in class. Turn it in at the end of the class if you want 5 points. If it is not turned in and you're here, you will not be turning it in for 5 points when I come back. It is due today. So, using the unit circle, find each value. So, make sure your unit circle's out. Make sure you have it. If you don't have the one from class the other day, you can get your phone out, Google unit circle. The only thing that's bad about the ones on Google is they don't have the tangents. I have all the tangents on mine. So if you watch the video from the unit circle day and use the blank sheets, fill one in, I have all the tangents on mine. You're not going to find the tangents on any of the ones online. So the first one says sine of 210. You guys see it? Sine of 210. Let's find 210. 210 is in green. That's a 30. So sine, remember, let's just give it some things to make it easier for us. The order pair is in the format cosine, sine, tangent in this order. If they ask for cosecant, cosecant goes with this one. It's the flip of this one. If they ask for secant, it's the flip of this one. And if they ask for cotangent, it's the flip of tangent. Write those underneath the cosine, sine, and tangent. Okay, so here we go. Sine 210. Sine of 210 is the y-coordinate. See right there in green? Your answer is -1/2. You can either look at your unit circle or you can try it on your calculator. Sine of 210, make sure you're in degrees. Sine of 210. Boom, -1/2. Press math, enter, enter. It's -1/2. Don't give me the decimal. If it was a decimal, then you better know, you better be looking at your unit circle. Cosine of 330. Remember, cosine's the first one. 330 is in the fourth quadrant. It's right there in green. Cosine's the very first one. It's radical 3/2. That's your answer. Can't get much easier than this, huh? Tan 150. That's in the second quadrant. 150 is in green. See it? Tan is right here. It's negative radical 3/3. That's a negative. Negative radical 3/3. You might also want to check all scholars take calculus. In the second quadrant, only sine is positive, so the tangent had to be negative. Another way to know if it's negative is even though that's a radical, if you press in tan 150, it'll show you if it's a positive or negative decimal. That's a negative decimal, so that should be negative. Now, I do not want the decimal answer, but at least tells you that it's negative if you're not sure. Maybe you couldn't read it off your paper. Sine of 300. Now remember, sine is the second one. So 300 is here. Sine is in blue. So sine is here. Now I can't tell if that's a negative or not, so maybe you should type it in. Type in sine of 300. It's going to be a negative radical 3/2. Cosine of 225. Cosine is the x-coordinate. 225's in the red. Cosine. I want the x-coordinate. It's negative radical 2/2. Now cosecant, these are the tricky ones. Let's find cosecant. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So what this means is you're first going to find sine of 240, and then you're going to flip it over. So the sine of 240 is the y-coordinate of sine of 240. So here's 240 in blue. Sine is negative radical 3/2. So we're going to flip this. No, we're not flipping it yet, sorry. Sine of 240 is radical 3/2, sorry. Here's what it is. That's sine of 240. So we're going to flip this to -2 over radical 3. I am not going to make you rationalize. I'm going to give you guys a little break. That's your answer. Secant of 30. Secant is right here. It's under cosine. So we're going to find cosine of 30 first, and then we're going to flip it. Flip it. So cosine of 30, that's in the first quadrant. Cosine is radical 3/2. Now flip it. 2 over radical 3 is the secant of 30. Tan of 135. Remember, tangent's on the outside. Tangent of 135 is in red. It looks to me like it says -1 right there, which means your calculator can give you that answer. Anytime it's a nice answer like that, you can double check it. Tan of 135, -1. Cosine of 150. Cosine is the x-coordinate. Cosine is the x-coordinate. So 150 is in the second quadrant. Find it. Cosine is the x-coordinate. It's negative radical 3/2. Cotan of 90 is the reciprocal of the tan of 90 because cotan and tan go together. So tan of 90, here's 90. Tan of 90 is undefined. This is a tricky one. If the tan of 90 is undefined, then the cotan of 90 is the flip of this. But what undefined really means is that the 0 is in the bottom. So if you flip that over, it should be 0 over 1, which is 0. Cotan of 90 is 0. You're not going to be able to use the calculator for that because the calculator cannot flip an undefined symbol. So just remember, if you have an undefined and you have to do the reciprocal, it's 0. And if you have 0 and you want the reciprocal, it's undefined. 0 and undefined are reciprocals of each other in the unit circle. Sine of 180. That's the y coordinate of 180. Here's 180. We want the y coordinate. See it right there? 0. That means your calculator can give you that. Sine of 180. 0. Secant of 315. This is the reciprocal of the cosine of 315 because secant and cosine go together. Right here. Cosine, secant. Cosine of 315. That is the x-coordinate in red here. Cosine is radical 2 over 2. That's the cosine. But we need to flip this. Flip it to 2 over radical 2. And I'm not going to make you rationalize. That's your answer. Cosecant of 135 is the reciprocal of the sine of 135. 135 sine is radical 2 over 2. So if you flip this, it's 2 over radical 2, same as the last answer. Tangent of 270. Here's 270. Tangent of this is undefined. Tan of 180. 180. Tangent of 180 is 0. Cosine of 90. Cosine of 90 is 0. Cotan of 300 is the reciprocal of the tan of 300. So tan of 300 is negative radical 3. So if you have to flip this, now remember this is over 1, your answer would be negative 1 over radical 3. And the cosecant of 180 is the reciprocal of the sine of 180. Sine of 180 is 0 over 1. If you flip this, it's 1 over 0, which is undefined. Cosecant of 180 is undefined. Now, you know you're good with this kind of like unit circle when you can do all of this without looking at the unit circle. So if you want, you can ask the sub for another sheet and see how many of these you can get without using the unit circle. If you can do that, you're going to do fine in college math. And who knows, I might offer some bonus points when I come back. I might give you like 6 of these. And if you can get them all right without looking at the unit circle, I'll give you more bonus. I'm going to get lots of bonus this quarter. So now we're not using the unit circle anymore for 19. So flip it over. Now we're going to make a triangle. Negative 1 and 5 are 2 sides of a right triangle. What quadrant should you plot it in? It depends which one's negative and positive. So if you have to plot negative 1, 5, you'd go left 1 and up 5 right here. Draw the point. Then you're going to draw a hypotenuse or a ray from the origin to this point. That's your hypotenuse. Then you're going to construct a right triangle by taking this point and drawing a line to the closest x-axis, which is back down to the 1. And that forms a 90-degree angle. Fill in theta here. Now, these are 2 sides of a triangle. The negative 1 is the x. The 5 is the y. And we need to find the hypotenuse. So we're going to go negative 1 squared plus 5 squared equals the hypotenuse squared, which is 1 plus 25, which is 26. If you square root, you get square root of 26, and that goes here, square root of 26. Yeah?
Well, I had a question.
Let me see.
So, okay. So, for this problem, if this is technically a triangle, can I do the Pythagorean theorem?
It's not a right triangle.
I didn't think so. Okay.
20 degrees. Did you do the chart? You should do that little chart I told you. The little east and west chart. Use
Oh, yeah.
36 and 20. 20 degrees north of due east is 20, but this one, 40 degrees south of due west is down here. It's over here. So that's not going to be 42. It's going to be 222. Use 222 in the second thing and then add them.
Okay.
All right. Oh my God, are you okay? I always you do that once and never do it again. So are you all right? Sine of theta, cosine of theta, tan of theta. Cosecant of theta, secant of theta, cotan of theta. So sine of theta is opposite, which is 5 over radical 26. So cosecant is radical 26 over 5. Notice those are both positive because all scholars take calculus. Sine is positive in that quadrant. The other 4 should be negative. So cosine should be negative 1 over radical 26, which is negative radical 26 over 1. Tangent is 5 over negative 1, which is negative 5. And the cotangent is negative 1/5. Those are your answers. So if you're drawing this one, you get negative 8. Negative 8/15 down in the third quadrant. Draw a hypotenuse out to this. And then draw a vertical line to the closest x-axis. And label your sides. This is a Pythag triple, so this is going to be a nice one. Finally, a nice one. You all right? You don't have to use the negatives because you're squaring, but if you wanted to use a negative, don't forget your parentheses. Either way, you're going to get a positive number here. This is 289. Square root 289 on your calculator, you get 17. Finally, one without a radical. So, sine of theta, cosecant of theta. Cosine of theta, secant of theta. Tan of theta, cotan of theta. Equals, 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 equals. So, here's theta. This is the adjacent side. This is the opposite side. This is the hypotenuse. So sine is OH. Remember, SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite, negative 15 over 17. Which means the cosecant is negative 17 over 15. The negative can be anywhere. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, which means 17 over negative 8 is the secant. And tangent is opposite, which is negative 15 over negative 8, which is positive 15a. So you should change both those negatives to positive because tangent is positive in the third quadrant. So don't leave it as double negative. And cotangent, therefore, is 8/15. Those are your answers. So whether they give you ordered pairs or they tell you what an actual sine is, by them telling me a sine of ratio, they're telling me two sides here. Remember, sine is OH. So this 12 is the opposite side and 13 is the hypotenuse. Now, which one has to be the negative, the 12 or the 13? Well, I told you in the last notes that the hypotenuse always has to be positive, so that looks like the hypotenuse is 13 and the negative goes up with the opposite side. It tells you it's in quadrant 3. Draw, this is quadrant 3. This is a quadrant 3 triangle. Make sure it looks just like that. Draw a hypotenuse, draw a vertical line up to the closest x-axis, and put in your theta. Now it says that sine of theta is negative 12 over 13, which is this is the opposite side and this is the hypotenuse, because so is OH. Hey.
Did you get my email?
No.
I sent it to you yesterday. Are you going to teach multiplying matrices without the calculator?
I already did yesterday.
With no calculator? Now, do you think it'll be on the test like that?
I did them a non-calculator and
Okay,
a calculator test.
All right, then, okay.
I did. That's up to you for
That's what I'm
regular.
doing.
For regular, I don't
Regular,
think.
I'm not going
But
to
honors.
Gotcha.
Actually, I made them do it the book way, but without me telling them. I said try to figure because they give you the
Yeah,
first
because
one,
they gave him the first one.
and then we just did some.
Because I'm going to teach that today.
But I showed them calculator and non-calculator.
Okay, I'll show them. Cool.
So sine is opposite. Hypotenuse is 13. So we have to find the adjacent side. Okay, so they gave us our opposite side and they gave us our hypotenuse. We're finding the adjacent side. That's just the same thing as any other time we're using Pythagorean theorem. We're trying to find the x. So x squared plus negative 12 squared equals 13 squared. That's the Pythagorean theorem. So this is 144 and this is 169. If you subtract 144 from 169, you get 25. If you square root this, it's either positive or negative 5. It's not just positive 5. It could be positive or negative 5. You have to decide on where you're drawing your. So is x, if you're going left, is that positive or negative 5? You should be saying negative 5, Mrs. Rollins. You'd be right. So there is your triangle. Now we have to find how many of these? The remaining 5. So they gave us the sign. We have to find the remaining 5. So sine was given. So we'll write negative 12/13. Therefore, you should know cosecant is the flip of that. So we know actually 2 of them without even looking at the triangle. The other ones we're going to find from the triangle. Sine and secant, tangent and cotangent. So cosine is negative 5 over 13. Secant is 13 over negative 5. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, but 2 negatives make a positive, so make sure that's 12/5 because tangent is positive in the third quadrant, which makes cotangent 5/12. Make sure 4 of these are negative, 2 of them are positive. Okay, the last one. This one says it's in quadrant 4. Make sure you look for that. Quadrant 4, draw a hypotenuse. Go up to the closest x-axis, put in theta. Now the one, okay, let's get these ready. We have sine of theta, cosecant of theta, cosine of theta, secant of theta, tan of theta, cotan of theta. So cosine was given, negative 5 over radical 89. Cosine is AH, SOHCAHTOA. It's not the so, it's the ka. AH, so this is the adjacent side, and this is the hypotenuse. So if you're labeling this, this is the adjacent side, and this is the hypotenuse. So if you know these, then you also know the secant is radical 89 over negative 5, because it's the hypotenuse over the adjacent. So we know 2 of the, you know what? These should be, what do you know about cosine in the fourth quadrant? All scholars say calculus. Cosine should be positive. So I'm saying it's negative. Oh, wait, you know what? I thought it said negative. It's my fault. You see how this, I thought that was a negative sign. Let's go back up here. I thought that was a negative, my fault. This is positive 5. Then that makes sense that you're going right, that this is not negative. My bad. That is a positive 5. This is a positive answer. Because cosine's supposed to be positive. It's a good thing I know that. I already messed up that problem. All right, we have to fill in the missing side here. So Pythagorean theorem says it's x squared plus y squared equals your hypotenuse squared. So x is 5. We do not know the y, but the hypotenuse is radical 89 squared, which is 25 plus y squared equals 89. Subtract 25, y squared equals 64, and y is plus or minus 8. Now, is it plus 8 or is it negative 8? We're going down. It's negative 8. So your sign is negative 8 over radical 89, because that's opposite over hypotenuse. Flip that one. And the tangent is negative 8 over 5, which is negative 5 over 8. Again, only the cosine should be positive. The other 4 should be negative.